foreshortening. What is it? I'll explain it and we'll learn it. Let's get to it. Okay, so I'm going to explain this real quick and to the point. This might be less than 5 minutes, so just keep up with me. All right, so what is foreshortening? For layman's terms, foreshortening, based on definition, which I'll have somewhere on the screen, I'll just slap it up here because I'm too lazy to write everything here. Foreshortening is the art, a technique used to create the illusion of depth and 3D dimensionality by making objects appear shorter than they actually are when viewed from a specific angle. That is the definition. Look it up literally from Google, so you can't say I'm just making stuff up. So it's basically the idea of foreshortening is the poor man's perspective. I say it that way because it's not really based on accuracy per se. It's all about the idea of giving the illusion that something's very close or something's very far. So since we got that out of the way, what foreshortening means, we're going to see what are the elements that makes a great foreshortening. So one thing that we need to at least make sure is the idea of distance and depth perception, or depth. I think I spelled that wrong, but depth perception per se. Okay. So distance and depth perception is pretty much the same thing. It's just how far and how close something is. Same thing as foreshortening overall, but there's a little bit more elements to this for beginners. So just keep in mind with me and just keep up with me. So it says how close or how far a subject is. So it's basically showing the size of something based on how far and how close something is. So let's say I drew a ball and I drew another ball. That is literally what that is. But how do we know if something's far away? Well, to actually get that in check, we have to apply something called or something with layering and size. So layering and size is based on the idea of placement on something, and on size is how big and how small something is. So if something's really big, then it's very close to us based on, because you gotta think of it this way, we are the camera. We, based on our perspective on what the drawing's going to be, we are ultimately the camera. So the bigger the subject is towards us, the more closer they are. The more further they are, the more smaller they are. Now, did their height change? No, just their distance from us has changed. So you can have a 6-foot dude be up on you or right next to you, and if they walk down to like the horizon or something, they're still 6 foot. They're just a smaller distance from your placement from them, from the distance from you, and all the way down to whatever placement they are. I hope that was a good explanation. I probably effed that up a little bit. But anyway, so that is the main course of that, and then layering does come into play. I will show that in a second. So let's go back to our ball real quick. So to make this feel more believable, I'm going to get rid of them, and I'm going to make this really, really big. Remember, big equals close. So what I should do with the other ball is make it really, really small. Well, it's not super small, but small. So small means far. Okay? Now, to really push home with this, we can really put more emphasis on this by making other balls in the distance feel more closer by making them slightly more bigger, or make another ball much smaller in significance. So like what I can do is take a ball and put it all the way over here. It's just a dot at that point. Now we have this in the mid. It was our smallest, now it's our mid, and our smallest now is here. Now what really hits home with this is the idea of the placement on what's happening. Now when I say placement, that could be like a layering thing. So the layering thing, because we already know that the size dictates majority of the time how close something is. Now to really give it more of that illusion, we have to make sure when we draw like another ball, it is not bigger than the ball that we previously have, and it's not smaller than the ball that we have in the far distance. So we have to make sure we can see it much higher like that. So it's like that. So we're seeing it going to the distance, just like that. So like if you have a character throwing a punch per se, the fist will be the biggest thing, and everything else that's connected to that fist will relatively get smaller into the distance. So that's how that works. Okay. So let me use an example. So like if I had, I usually do this as a form as an example whenever I'm trying to do some foreshortening or perspective, but let's just focus on foreshortening. That will be a video next. I think I'll do perspective next after this. I'm actually doing this in different orders of the fundamentals, but I will put them in a list in order of their importance. So don't worry. I'm just getting the ones that's really difficult out of the way, and then we'll go in more detail of like anatomy and all that stuff. Anyway, so I learned this from Drawbox. So, and you don't know who that is, I'll put their link in the description if you want to hear about them. They do more of this technique for perspective and boxes, but this is how it works. So I use a giant line or gestural line like this, right? And I make, say, like a box, right? And let's say the box is really, really big. The box doesn't have to be accurate. It just has to follow the line, right? So as I'm going, everything's relatively getting smaller as we go more into the distance, and I'm putting more emphasis on the foreshortening. So as I'm going, we're going to go down this right here, and then as I'm going, we're going to curve this. So as I go, I'm getting smaller, because what we're trying to do is tell you, without the idea of accuracy, is make things a lot more smaller in the distance to show there's a form of turning and a form of distance based on how small and how big it is. I think I said that twice, my bad. So as I go, it's like a stair. See how it's like gesturally following? This is why I always put it in this particular order, because this is following in the idea of gesture. Because shape and form. So we made the shape of a box. The shape overall is a box. And then we use a form method, making a cube. Remember, forms just means 3D shape. And as we use the gesture as like this line, we follow that gestural line. And then as we go to the gestural line, we use foreshortening as we go to make things appear more far away or close than it should be. And as you can see, as I go further and further, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller to the point that you can't even see what's going on anymore. See how that makes that illusion go in there? I didn't use any perspective, I didn't use any horizon lines, nothing like that. You can do this with horizon lines, but then again, your stuff won't be as accurate. So if you're trying to do like backgrounds or anything like that, it might look a little wonky. So this is why I'm going to probably do perspective after this. I know I should do balance, but I might do perspective. I might change my mind, we'll see. But as far as I hope this was a good explanation. So I'm going to go down to the point that gets dark. So remember what we did, we used, and I can use bigger square, a more bigger, closer square to us here. Okay, or rectangle. It's mostly a rectangle, my bad. I didn't mean to use the word square, but you know what I'm saying. It's just a elongated square. So what we use is what's big. The biggest thing is here, and the smallest is right here, right? And as we're doing that, the distance is being emphasized a lot because of the placement of our subject. So even if it's not straight line, you can use a curved line, but as long as it's following that gestural pose, it feels very believable. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I hope it's not confusing anyone. Please, guys, let me know in the video that if my explanations are a little off. I'll make sure to probably write a script next time. I might have to do that. I like going off the cuff, but sometimes that might cause a little bit of confusion. But yeah, so this is what we did. We used big and small, and then we used distance. Distance came in based on something that is going into the distance by just because it's far away from here, and what's closest right here. Okay? So, and the layering, because the layering came in this particular area here. So how that works is as we was curving, as you can see, there was some form of layers here and here. But as we layered up, it got smaller. So, and remember, what got layered is that what was closest was bigger. This was relatively bigger. And as it got more into the distance, it got smaller while being layered on top. So it gave that sense of illusion. I would draw a character instead, but then again, I don't want to make this too long. So I hope this was helpful, or at least gave a sense of understanding. Okay, pretty much. So we're just going to recap real quick the idea of foreshortening. So foreshortening is basically layering, or the idea of making something seem much more close or further away than it really is based on 3D perspective. We already put the definition at the beginning, so you don't have to even ask me. You can go screenshot that if you like, whether you're watching this on your phone or your computer. We also went through the few elements of size, layering, and distance. These three things are synonymous with each other. We didn't do accuracy because that falls right under, or at least the idea of perspective, so that's why I didn't go down that route. That's a video on its own by itself, and those elements will be placed into that too. So this is why I call it the poor man's perspective, because you don't really need to be super accurate to give people the understanding of depth perception to a degree. So yeah, so we break those down. I hope it was helpful. I know I didn't draw any characters per se. I probably made some examples that was probably helpful to understand visually, but I kept it super simple for beginners so they get the basic concept, so they can always run back to this and, you know, get the overall idea. I'm going to do more advanced topics on this alongside perspective, so don't worry. We'll talk about it more, and I will draw probably a character here and there so you guys can get some form of artwork out of me. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I appreciate it very much. If you guys want to follow me and or support me, there's Patreon or Buy Me Coffee. I'm trying to build on those two platforms so I can do this full time and teach you guys what you need to know and do more anime, art, or anime related topics and all that good stuff. I also have a gaming channel and also a reaction channel. I don't know how that's going to play out because of the new policies with YouTube, but we'll figure that out. So with that said, thank you guys. And also if you want to join the Discord, link in bio. Everything's in the bio, and I also put some YouTubers down here if you want to learn from them as well, what I learned from them over the years of being on YouTube. So with that said, have a great night. Thank you guys. You guys are amazing. I appreciate every last one of you. And follow me on all my social medias if you want me on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, and all the works. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. All right, I'm out. Have a great night, guys, and day. Laters.